We're back now with two more local Belfast City councillors, Guy Spence of the DUP and Emmet McDonough-Brown of the Alliance Party. Did I get that right? Yes, I did. Okay. Now, I can't guarantee, these questions have all been submitted from Twitter, so this one might get a little bit heated. Just to get your interest. I had no involvement in these questions, I can promise you. You can ask the ones before or after. All right, we're going to move on. I will go firstly to you, Emmet. When Paul Given made public his intentions to draft a freedom of conscience bill, the Alliance Party came out with a press release from, it was your Minister Stephen Farry, saying that equality legislation in Northern Ireland was sufficient, it was robust enough, and it was doing the job that it had to do. Why then have the Alliance Party said that they won't sign the petition of concern against the bill should it come to the Assembly?
Well, I mean, it's first of all important to say that there is nothing to put down a petition of concern against at this point. Our opposition to the conscience clause is well known and well articulated. We do oppose it. We believe that the current protections balance the right of people of faith and the rights of people who are gay to live freely in our society. We believe that balance is well struck at the moment. We don't see the need to support a conscience clause, and our view is that it's maybe more important to defeat it in a vote on the floor of the Assembly than to kill it before it gets even to that point. So I think better to defeat it after an argument and show the will of the Assembly opposes this piece of legislation than to kill it in advance without letting political parties have the chance to have their say.
So for you and your party, it's almost symbolic to be able to debate it and defeat it rather than to block it?
Sure. I mean, we have real concerns about petitions of concern, if you like, and how they're used and abused in the Assembly. So we tend not to seek to use them for the most part, and I think this is in keeping with that. I think it would be better if the Assembly, as a whole body, not necessarily every party, is able to debate this piece of legislation, have their say against it, and then have it defeated.
Okay, thank you. Guy, do you agree with the draft in its current form, or the things that you think need to change, or do you disagree entirely with the draft of the conscience clause?
Yeah, well, I mean, obviously you had said you had no input into the questions asked here tonight, but I mean, it is worthwhile, as Niall had actually raised around us being representatives at local government level. I don't have the detail that some of our MLAs would have. So, in short, to answer the question on the conscience clause is drafted, and I haven't read the draft bill, so I can't speak on the detail of it. But what I will say is it's drafted because the Equality Commission has decided to pursue a family-run business, and that's why the bill has been drafted in the first place.
Do you think that any of your constituents perhaps have concerns maybe with the draft, and that it would be pertinent for you to have read it?
Yeah, well, I mean, I know there's a campaign out there, but, you know, you're talking about having concerns, but, you know, unless you read the bill, surely then those concerns can be validated or those concerns can be addressed. So that's the point that I'm making. Even though some people may come out against it and not have read the bill, I haven't read the bill. But I support the principle that some family businesses can't be pursued by a commission which is meant to promote equality throughout this country.
Okay, thank you. You wanted to rebuttal something?
There was just one small point that I wanted to make around the role of the Equality Commission in this case. One of the roles of the Equality Commission is to take strategic challenge in areas of law which are not sufficiently defined, and in that case, I am more happy that they test the law, whatever the outcome of it is, and it may not come in favour as the way people expect. It may actually come out in favour of Ashes as a bakery. I mean, that's what we're yet to find out. Well, I mean, I understand that the Equality Commission is not popular amongst all the political parties, and I'll be kind of polite about that, but it's important that they're given their space to perform their function, which is set out in legislation.
Well, I mean, all that I'll say is in the last couple of weeks, the Equality Commission need to look at their own front door and their own track record before they can go pursuing some other people. And I mean, obviously, we can pick and choose different issues. And I mean, I'm a bit disappointed because I'll be honest, those first two topics that you'd asked other people were great.
I
You know,
have
about
more.
employment, around tuition fees, because you're looking at the person who internally won people around within my own party around tuition fees. That was what got me into politics. That's why I'm a councillor today. So, you know, you're picking an issue like this, okay, but I can't answer in detail because I'm not an elected member of the Northern Ireland Assembly. I haven't read the draft bill, but I do support the principle that it stands by.
Okay, thank you. Well, I'm going to move on to some of those other things that I think you would like to talk about then. You are 22, okay. I'm actually older than a sitting councillor. Right.
I'm 31. How do you think I feel?
Old. Guy, as someone who is obviously young and in politics, do you think that there's a problem, maybe in your own party, maybe in every party, generally speaking, about not giving a space to young people to properly get out there in the public face of politics, find their feet and get more involved? Do you think it's a problem in Northern Ireland politics at all?
I think it's much bigger than that, if we're being quite honest. I mean, the 2010 UK-wide general election, only 44% of young people aged between 18 and 25 actually used their vote. So, you know, you're talking about political activity, but I think political engagement is important too. And until we actually create that channel or that bridge between politics with the small p, not the big P, because some of the big P politics puts young people off, because young people are interested in the opportunities that they have in life. Young people are interested in the communities that they live in. And unless we address those concerns, I think we're going to have those problems in the future. But what I will say is, you know, you're using it here tonight, social media. Social media has been an absolute game changer in relating with young people. Certainly through the actions that I've been doing, and I was being mocked because I would hashtag quite a bit, and people would actually repeat the hashtag to me. But that's what it's all about. It's all about that engagement between young people, or the people that you represent, and the person who's representing you. And I think what we need to do is actually target those young people who have no interest in politics at all, who have no interest in voting, actually getting them to use their vote, and then we can talk about political activity and getting them and seeing what actually fires them up and what drives their passions about politics and about issues.
As someone who is young and in politics, what would you say are, say, the top 3 or 4 priorities for young people in your constituency or in Northern Ireland generally?
It's a very hard question, but I think what young people care about most is their opportunities in life. And that almost culminates a lot of areas, you know, in terms of investment, employment opportunities, and even education, and even the area that they live in. But certainly, you know, through council and other councillors have been here tonight, and they've named projects. I mean, within my own constituency, the Giants Park, the North Foreshore, it opens new doors, offers new opportunities to an area which has lived in deprivation, or is seemingly living in deprivation now, and giving young people within that area, young people who only 15% of them leave school with 5 or more GCSEs, giving them something to aspire to become.
Thank you, Emmet. If the Alliance Party had some great creative, radical idea to get young people to vote, to get engaged in politics, what would it be? Do you have a radical idea?
Well, I mean, one of our ideas is that we allow people from the age of 16 to vote. And we think that that is important, because if young people are able to pay taxes, if they're able to join armies, learn how to drive, that they should be able to have a say in who decides the rules that govern those activities. I mean, it's important that if you're talking to young people, that you can say to them that this is your society and it is your future, and we trust you enough to give you a stake in deciding who runs it. In terms of how you engage young people in politics, it's a very difficult one. I think Guy and I would probably agree on that. I mean, young people probably look at some of the knockabout that you see in politics and are turned off by it. I mean, it is sadly a feature of our politics that people are often tempted to engage in kind of personal attack and winding each other up and all the rest of it. But I think it's important to lead by example, and if you can show people that there is a better future for politics, then I think you will inspire them to become more involved. And what I would say to any young people is that regardless of who you vote for, or whether you wish to join a political party, that you should get involved. Find a party that matches what you want to see happen in society as best you can, and join and take part. And as you see, there is space for young people in politics. Guy's a great example of that.
You called him young, 31.
He's a generous sort, really.
On Emmett's touched on there, votes at 16. Guy, do you agree that we should afford 16, 17-year-olds?
Some people have approached me on this, and I'll be honest, I have no view on it whatsoever. I'll tell you why. Because I'm not going to be one who's going to say no. I'm not going to be one who's going to radically promote it. And I've said to the people who want to vote at 16, convince me. Convince me. And I think through them convincing people like me, convincing people like ministers in the Assembly, convincing people like ministers even at Parliament at Westminster, I think surely that's succeeding in getting young people politically motivated to get involved. And I think in relation to votes at 16, like I said, I have no view, but certainly my door's open if people want to lobby and campaign for that.
Thank you. Well, so now we are, I don't know how many days away from the general election. I'm sure you both could tell me how many days we are away from the general election. Big campaign in East Belfast at the minute between your two parties. For one, it's about retaining a seat. For one, it's about retaking one. For both of you, I'm going to give you just a sentence. What would you say to young people who are maybe here, students who are maybe here, who live in East Belfast, that would make them vote for your party?
Okay. I mean, I would say this election is about the choice which people in East Belfast face. It's a choice between Naomi Long, who wants to take East Belfast forward, and between Robinson, who wants to take East Belfast back.
Guy?
Yeah, well, I think, you talked about young people and young politicians. I think Emmet led to it about leading by example. There's no better example around a young person taking politics forward and driving change than Gavin Robinson. The things that he did as Lord Mayor, many people thought that a DUP man would never do. And he'll do it as MP. But it is worth putting on record that we have also a very important election in North Belfast. And I would encourage anybody in North Belfast to vote for Nigel Dodds.
Okay, thank you very much. On that note, can I ask you to give your thanks to Councillors Emmet McDonough-Brown and Guy Spence?